Welcome over to Automotive World, everyone. I'm your host, Vinny Mystery, and we are back. We are going to go over the Hyundai Palisade. And just disclaimer, this is going to be a long one because, oh my goodness, the Hyundai Palisade just had the biggest makeover I think I've ever, one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. Let's get started right into this. First of all, we have an all-new, it's not, we have an all-new generation, new interior, new exterior. We've got two new powertrains. We're going to go over these powertrains. We've got just all-new capability. This is a big one, so let's get started up here. First of all, Palisade had its best year-over-year sales, up 23% from last year. And Hyundai really, if you watch the video, they really went in on this being a family vehicle. They want you to have a model where there's one for everyone. So without even going into the XRT Pro Trim, let's just go over some of the basics here. First of all, one of the biggest things from that announcement was the new powertrain. So we have two powertrains. We have that existing V6, which I really like. It's a little bit less power, obviously, but you get 5,000 pounds of towing. It's a V6. It's been proven. You still get the 10-year powertrain warranty on both of these. It's a really good powertrain if you need a little more towing. But Hyundai is giving us a 2.5-liter, 4-cylinder, turbocharged hybrid powertrain. In its peak power numbers, 329 horsepower, up to 619 miles of range. You can do up to 3,500 pounds of towing, and they're saying you should be able to get around 34 mpg with this. Now, obviously, you're not going to get 34 mpg with towing, but this is really interesting here. This is actually impressive because this vehicle is huge. It's not aerodynamic. It's heavy. That's a lot of power out of that. To have that much range, peak power, and that MPG rating, that's a really big thing for Hyundai. We have, new features like the new digital key 2, first and second row relaxation seats. We have USB-C ports that are on here capable of 100-watt power delivery. That can charge a MacBook Pro. That could charge any computer pretty much. This is huge. We have factory installed tow hitch, built-in camera, dash cam. This is just absolutely massive, and for good reason. This is one of Hyundai's most popular, if this is their most popular vehicle. For Hyundai and Kia, between the Palisade and the Telluride, you guys have seen every time we do sales figures numbers on these things, they just absolutely print money. And we're going to go into some of the pictures here in a second, but we can kind of see them here. We have a distinctive, the LED DRLs, your tail lights and things, your headlights and stuff. It looks very similar stance-wise to the previous model. Obviously, there are some major differences. And honestly, I kind of like what they've done. It's definitely given it that super futuristic vibe. I like it. It's not something I'm going to go crazy over per se, but I do quite like it. I think they've done a pretty decent job with this, and we're going to go into some of the pictures here overall in a second. But we can kind of see, it definitely, they did a good job. They kept dimensions similar. They kept the stance and things similar, but you can definitely kind of see that they've also made it a little bit more just kind of, where it's an agile look. I thought the older one, it was really rounded out quite a lot, and it really kind of made it look like old and dull and dreary. This doesn't really look like that too much. It still has the essence of it, but I think they did a pretty decent job. Like I said, is this something I'm going to rave over? No. But I think they've done a decent job. It did get larger, though, in every single way, so body's 2.5 inches longer, wheelbase is 2.7 inches longer. This is definitely a vehicle that has gone bigger. So like I said, dimensions are similar, but this is just something we're seeing in the industry. Things are getting bigger and bigger. We're looking down here. We've got so many different features here. We're looking at you can tell the size has gotten bigger. We look at the interior here. It's quite a cool interior, and we've got some cool features. The 12.3-inch dual displays. You got your Bose 14-speaker system. 15-watt charging pads for wireless devices and things like that. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is standard. So we've got all that there. You can really see from the interior here on this particular one, it's quite, futuristic looking, very clean and sterile with the all white. Got your door handles and things. And like I said, we'll go into these pictures more in depth here. There's some things I like it, but there's also definitely some things I don't like about it. But overall, this vehicle gained an upgrade. New powertrain, more power, more capability. Obviously, having the increased wheelbase and the increased length and width of the vehicle, that's just going to make, passengers more comfortable. Obviously, there's going to be more legroom, more headroom. Hyundai talked about that quite a lot. Having second row power adjustable seats, heating and ventilated seats, USB-C ports that are up to 100-watt capable. So if you got people in the back, you can pretty much charge anything. Really kind of cool. Maybe if you take this on, to just do a little bit of filming and stuff, being able to just, charge my MacBook with a C-to-C cable in the car, especially using a MacBook Pro. This is, the capability here is really just, it's really grown, and this is something that Hyundai reiterated in their press release for, and they reiterated this in the live stream as well, is that they want to make sure that there is a model for every single person. Obviously Wi-Fi capability, hotspot, Alexa's built in, the digital key system, which you can use your phone, your watch, things like that to unlock the vehicle. That's nothing new. Hyundai's been doing this for a while. Palisade is going to come standard with over-the-air updates. That's something really, really cool. You're maybe not going to have to necessarily take this into the dealer and things too much. Over-the-air updates are really, really cool. Hyundai's got that in-car payment system. Not really a big fan of that, but that's what they're doing there. But they really, really go into the powertrain here. So like I said, that 3.5 liter V6, it's still staying around 287 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. Really, really nice because it's naturally aspirated. It's 5,000 pounds of towing. It's been around for a while. It's pretty tried and true. Most manufacturers have a 3.5 liter V6 of some sort. They're pretty much all kind of roughly the same. You still get that 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty on the V6, but you get it on the hybrid too. And like I said, 2.5 liter turbo, 4-cylinder. The 2.5 liter 4-cylinder itself makes 258 horsepower. It is mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission and then 2 electric motors. Those motors can add up to 90 horsepower. So your total estimated output, essentially peak output, is 329 horsepower, 339 pound-feet of torque. And Hyundai says in the press release here, 30 plus mpg. Now, during their live stream, they said they're getting up to 34. Either way, 30 to 34 mpg in a vehicle like this, it's really, really nice. They have a targeted range of up to 619 miles. Really, really solid, a really large amount of range for a vehicle like this. And this being a family vehicle, this is obviously going to be taken on long journeys, so that's really, really nice to see there. The hybrid powertrains are going to offer an estimated 4,000 pounds of maximum towing. Now, I believe in their video, I saw them say 3,500, but it may have been 4,000. Either way, 4,000 is still a really good towing figure. I think if you're a family, young family, especially somebody who's looking at a vehicle like this, you're probably not going to have too many toys or maybe, too much stuff. But even if you have like 1 or 2 small toys or something, you're able to tow with that. If I was towing though, I would go with that V6 because it's just going to work out more. It's more suited for towing. And you're going to lose all your efficiency gains that you would gain with the hybrid there. But the fact that Hyundai is offering both just normal internal combustion engine and then, hybridized options as well. This is really, really big here because, like I said, this just, helps it grow overall. And this is before we even get to the XRT Pro. Hyundai has obviously got their available H-Track, the all-wheel drive there. You've got tow mode on there. They do have an option where this does come with a hitch standard from the factory. I do think that's quite a bit interesting because I know the Santa Cruz has had trouble with factory installed hitches for quite a while, and I don't know if they fixed that issue yet because I don't see any dealers or even their website offering it. So I wonder for the Santa Cruz if this means maybe Hyundai fixed it. Maybe we'll see that back on the Santa Cruz there. But overall, Same safety features as we've seen before: blind spot monitoring, forward collision assist, the safety exit, forward warning attention, navigation, based smart cruise control, adaptive cruise control, essentially, rear cross traffic alert, parking collision assist, the remote start, all the standard features that we would expect on just a modern car nowadays are here on the Hyundai. And the really cool one here is the XRT Pro. I mean, this one here just, Hyundai's labeled this as XRT Pro. I know some people are thinking, oh, this is going to compete with a TRD Pro. This isn't going to compete with a TRD Pro. I would consider this more so, I don't even know if I would say this is more so in line with even like Pro 4X from Nissan, but it's similar-ish to that. But there are some differences. We do have, exclusive electronic, rear limited slip diff, 8.4 inches of ground clearance. That is an inch more than non-XRT Pro models. So there are some physical changes here. Better approach angle and departure angle, as well as breakover angles as well. All-terrain tires. I saw the tires that were on there. Are they the most aggressive? Absolutely not. This is meant to be a family vehicle. You can maybe change that later on, but you do get all-terrain tires. Blind spot monitor, all-around surround view monitor. You have real-time pitch, roll, and compass, elevation displays, things like that. Obviously, all drive, that would make sense on there. We have some new driving modes: snow mode, terrain mode, mud mode. Really cool on there. How usable are they going to be? We'll have to find out, but really cool to see that there. We do have some exposed red hook, tow hooks here, because obviously can't have an off-roader without, tow hooks. That I agree with. Everybody does it red. I think there could be other colors, but everybody does it red, which is fine. We do have essentially downhill brake control, so we've got that there. We've got tow mode, and they do say that OEM tow hitch, and like I said, I am interested if they're able to figure out the tow hitch on here. Did they figure it out on the Santa Cruz? Looks really, really cool though. On the XRT, obviously we've got XRT badging, XRT, finished alloy wheels, exclusive colors, the Bose 14 speaker audio system, 115 volt power outlet, AC outlet, power moonroof. So really, really cool there. This, definitely does give it a little bit of off-road capability. Is this something like, like I said, is this like a TRD Pro thing or even a Pro 4X thing? Kind of, but not really. I think this is more so in line with... it's in the realm of a 4Runner, but I don't know if I'll say exactly 4Runner. I think, for people who were looking for a Passport that was a little bit bigger, but didn't, or, people who didn't like the Pilot, maybe wanted something a little bit more luxurious, or wanted a hybrid, this is where that is. Because really, essentially, this is competing with the Honda Pilot. That's what this is competing with. And this isn't a bad option. Let's take a look here at the XRT Pro model, and then we're going to take a look at the pictures all together. Obviously, we kind of covered a little bit of it there. Limited slip diff, things like that. The 1 inch, there on the ground clearance there. So 8.4 inches of ground clearance. That's an inch bigger than non-XRT Pro models. Like I said, better breakover, parch, pro triangles. Who's going to take this off-roading? Probably nobody. But it's nice that they have it. We covered all that stuff there. With this one here, the XRT Pro, you get the 3.5 liter V6. They don't talk about this having the hybrid, but I'll be honest, if you're buying an XRT Pro, it makes sense. You're probably not looking for the hybrid because you're going to have the lift, you're going to have the limited slip diff, you're going to have the all-terrain tires. The hybrid, I mean, if you're, those are things that generally kind of make the car a little bit more uncomfortable. I think if you're looking at the hybrid, you're not really looking to off-road it necessarily. So I prefer it with the V6. Like, if I was going to get a new Palisade, I think the hybrid option is really, really cool. It's nice. It gives you a lot of peak power and things, but personally, I'm a little bit more old school. I would still go with the V6. So I like that you get the V6. You get that same 8-speed automatic transmission from before. So essentially, it's just a carryover. It's tried and true. It's been proven. I guess, could you argue it would have been nice to have the, the hybrid version on here? Yeah, it probably would have, but hey, They didn't offer it. Maybe next year though. But really, really interesting things to see with what Hyundai did here. Let's actually take a look at all the photos and things, because that's where we're really going to notice all the differences. So let's take a look at all those photos. This is the hybrid model right here. So, I mean, we've got, really good looks at it. Looks like we've got, the Kumo tires on there. Hyundai and Kia have been doing that for quite a while. It looks kind of nice on this side. It's definitely got a little, like a little kind of Ford Explorer trying to be Range Rover kind of vibe here, and it's not bad. I like it. I like it. This part, it's not bad either. I just, like I said, I think it looks good. It's not personally designed that I'm gonna rave over. I'm not really rushing out to get it. It doesn't really fit my kind of design language, but I do like that it's a little bit more squared off and things like that. I don't think it's a bad looking vehicle necessarily. I think it looks quite good here. It looks aggressive enough. Quite a large grille here. It'll be interesting to see how this looks actually in person, because this is quite a large vehicle. But it seems to be tastefully done enough. Most people usually would put their logo right here though, and then maybe also on the top as well. Wonder if maybe Hyundai would do that, but it doesn't look like they're doing it now. We have another side view of it here. It really, really nice with what we've got going on. And like I said, it's 2.7 inch longer wheelbase, 2.5 inches longer overall. So obviously it's gotten bigger, similar dimensions, but it's gotten bigger. But it looks, I think it looks tasteful enough. I think it's definitely tasteful enough. We've got a picture of the hybrid engine here. So obviously this is the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo with your hybrid motor. Obviously, with the orange wiring and things, we can tell there is all of our hybrid electrical system right there. It is a dual motor system, so there are 2 electric motors in here. So definitely that hybrid motor, it does, it has a lot of power, but it weighs quite a lot. It's not a 6-cylinder, so you lose some weight there, but it's a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder. You add the turbo, you add that hybrid battery, and then 2 electric motors. When you really think about that, that's a lot of weight. So the fact that they're getting all that power, 30 plus miles per gallon, 619 miles estimated range, I mean it is impressive in a vehicle of this size with that aerodynamic capability. We look here, headlights look pretty nice. You can see that DRLs and stuff there. Really interesting how they did that. We can see our front hood there. We can see a better picture of the wheels here. I think the wheels look nice, definitely they look pretty nice here. Standard Kumo tire that we've got there, so nothing wrong there. You can see our hybrid badge here. Let's though take a look now at some of the more important pictures. Let's look at the XRT, and then let's take a look at some of those interior photos, because that's really what we're all looking at. Now, I think the XRT looks very similar, but it looks quite nice. The red toe hooks look nice. You can't really tell, in my opinion, from this shot, just because it's shot a little higher up with the ground clearance, that extra inch, but it is there. It looks quite nice. You can see the all-terrain tire that they put on there. Like I said, it's not very aggressive. This is meant to be a family vehicle, so it's not going to really be super, super aggressive, but you can definitely, in this picture, see it on there. It's a Continental, so it's not bad by any means. Is it a better tire than the standard Kumo tire that they put on? Well, you could argue that. Is it an all-terrain tire? Is it better at that? Yes. Is it going to be better comfort-wise, but no, road noise and obviously efficiency? Obviously not. So, it's a standard all-terrain tire, nothing crazy. At least they put one on there, and it looks, visually nice. And that's really what this is supposed to be. This isn't gonna have a crazy one on there. This is one that it's all-terrain, so it can do a little bit more than a standard tire, but it's really supposed to be really more of an all-season. But hey, it's not bad by any means. I think it looks really good when it's in the off-roading pictures like this. I think it looks, like I said, I think it looks quite nice. Am I gonna rave over it? Nah, but I think it looks quite nice. Definitely thinking the XRT trim with the darker colors, it looks better than without. Obviously, we can see our tire size here. We've got our, like I said, it's an all-terrain there. We've got XRT rims here, XRT badging. You know, we got XRT Pro here because this is the first time they've done an XRT Pro, which was a bit surprising. I would have liked to have seen them like from, because what they did with the Santa Cruz and other models, I still don't really see the pro part in it. I would have liked to have seen more. That I think is obviously just more of a marketing thing, if anything. So it would have just been nice to see a little bit more there. Obviously on the XRT Pro here, we've got the V6 on there. Like I said, this is personally, even if I wasn't buying XRT Pro, I'm a little bit old school that way. I would personally buy this with the V6, so this is the model I would go for. It looks like on the XRT Pro, it's only going to be offered with the V6, and like I said, it just makes sense. If you're off-roading, you're generally going to be towing more and all that, you want the V6, you know, and especially with the all-season tires and the lift and all that, all those gains from that hybrid engine would really, really go away. So personally, this is the engine I would still go for, but the hybrid is really, really nice. Like I said, I think it's a nice looking vehicle overall. I think it's nice looking. I think this is going to do, it was already doing extremely well. You know, we cover it all the time on this channel when we do sales number. This and the Telluride, like I said, they print money for Hyundai Kia. So this was already doing extremely well. This is only going to continue to do even more well. Now let's take a look at the interior here, because this interior is quite interesting. So you can see here, here's our, you know, our door. We've got our window switches and all that. I don't quite like these handles that they do. That's just me personally. I don't quite like them, but I'm sure somebody does. Steering wheel is quite interesting. We've got physical buttons, so I like that there. We've got, you know, the huge screen that Hyundai does, and Hyundai and Kia are usually doing this kind of one-piece screen. We kind of saw like on VW how they're doing with the Tiguan. Some manufacturers still like to do two separate displays. Some like to do all-in-one display. There's advantages to both. Obviously, there's continuity parts, but obviously with, you know, reliability and things, you know, if something ever breaks, you have to replace the whole thing versus just a separate part of it. So there's different, you know, cases and implementations and arguments we can make, but they usually do the whole one-piece screen, so it's quite big. It's, you know, angled at the driver. It's usually curved a little bit. One thing I do like that they did that VW didn't do on the Tiguan is physical buttons here. So physical buttons and knobs and switches for air conditioning, for tuning, for, you know, radio and things like that. I appreciate that. Now, I do appreciate VW giving us back physical buttons, but VW should give us, this should be standard. So should this. That's just me, personally. That's just me nitpicking. We've got 3 USB-C ports down here, wireless charger there, cup holders here, air vent. You know, we've got our glove box, center console. We've got some cup holders and some storage down there. You know, if we look at some more of these, here this is with the white interior. Personally, I'm gonna be honest, I think it's just a little bit too bright. I don't quite like this. Something with my brain does not like this interior. I like the black. I don't think this necessarily looks bad. I just don't like it. We can see, you know, obviously here we've got like our, this is where Hyundai Kia usually put for memory seats and things like that, the mirrors and stuff. You know, we can kind of see this little pattern that they've got going on here. We've got, you know, better view of all the different buttons and things. Like I said, I appreciate that. Really good job, Hyundai there. Something that VW, you almost nailed it, but definitely could have done a little bit better. We see all of our switches here on the seats. So obviously they're power adjusting the lumbar, and it's going to have the massage and things like that. So you know, you've got those there. Obviously this is a big full-size vehicle, so something that we don't always see, power seats on the second row. That's really, really cool to see. And I mean, we can see here, you know, this vehicle has grown in wheelbase and things, so massive amounts of legroom, massive amounts of headroom. Even in the back here in the third row, you know, that's something where you're not going to necessarily be cramped. This is a type of vehicle where you are, you know, able to comfortably fit up to, you know, 7 people. And we can see kind of aircon and looks like things over there. You know, we can see here, you know, this is where that second row seat is. Obviously it's a little bit tighter back here, but definitely, you know, definitely comfortable up here. We've got speakers over here. You've got cup holders. You do have some buttons right here. Looks like something right there. I'm not sure what that's for. We might see that in another picture here. Snow mode, mud mode, sand mode, XRT badging. I've got XRT stitching on the seats there. I actually kind of like that design that they've got going on there. I think that's a cool design. I want to see what those buttons are there. Obviously, you can see here, so Hyundai has pretty much moved where the center console is down there. They've moved all their buttons up here. I kind of noticed that earlier because I thought this was a parking sensor button. So even all your camera buttons and your drivetrain buttons and things like that, Hyundai moved up to where the screen was. It's nice that they gave you the room for that. That we get more space where that, center console thing is. But I personally kind of am used to it all being down there, so I kind of prefer it down there. But it's not bad. At least they kept it a physical button, so that's cool there. I do think things like this, though, like for parking sensors or even like the door sensors, if you wanted to open up or not, like if there's a car coming and you want your door to come off, it tells you that. I think I wish even the camera button, I wish they would just put that in the middle still, because what if you're the only person in the vehicle and this is on the passenger side? That's a little bit inconvenient to kind of have to reach over that far. So I like that they kept it physical buttons, but I actually kind of don't necessarily like the placement of that, honestly. Down here, 3 USB-C ports, cup holders, wireless charger, NFC and all that good stuff. I can't tell what that is there just because of the resolution of the photos. We've got door handle and things there. So we do have here 115 volt, 150 watt AC power outlet. That's really, really good. Look, this isn't going to power a TV or anything or microwave. This is going to be for your laptop and things like that. So it's really nice that, long journeys you're able to power that. Or even if you use this thing just to do, filming, maybe carry a lot of people, a lot of stuff. This is a vehicle for the crew. You're not really going in places off-road that are too exposed and things. Just to have that amenity there, that's really, really nice to have a power outlet there. If we go back there. Really good pictures of the interior. I really wish, though, I really wanted to know what those buttons were on the side. Where were they? Right here. That, I don't know. I'm assuming, obviously, somewhere there's probably a USB-C port and all that for your passengers back there. Obviously, there's an air vent speaker here. I want to know if it looks like there's a button there. And I really would have liked to have seen what that was. But it looks like, unfortunately, Hyundai's website, they're not allowing me to download those pictures, unfortunately. So as soon as I get those pictures, maybe I'll make a follow-up video with the reactions and all that. But that is pretty much the new Hyundai Palisade. It's got a big upgrade. Let me know what you guys and girls think down below. That's going to do it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone.